Batra Daf Kuf Samach Rima Amud Aleph 15 lines down. Last we mentioned that a document can be considered pasul if there's a space between the what's written on the document and the signatures. Amar Rav says Lo shanu ela ben aidin liktat. That only applies when there's a space between the witnesses' signatures and the document text. However, Abba ben aidin l'sharta, but if there's a space between the signatures on the bottom and the certification from Bedin on the bottom, I feel too benami kasher, even if the bigger portion that's blank, it's still kasher. Doesn't make a difference. The Gemara says, "My shna ben edim miktav." This is 1 second. Why can't you have a space between the document and the signatures? Because maybe the guy will forge it right wherever he wants in the blank space. Then he has already witnesses signed on it. Then it didn't so therefore you should be choshesh for the same thing with the certification. He'll forge as well in that space, and you have signature there already. The Gemara says. The guy, the sofer inks in the blank space, so there's no writing there. The Gemara says, "Yachi ben edin l'shtar nami." So how come you don't ink in the space between the witnesses and the text? And he'll also solve that problem there. When I said, "Yachi, amrit sahade atiyuta huda hatimi." The If the space between the text and the signatures have ink, it'll be pasul because maybe they will say that the witnesses were only signing to the fact that the ink was there. Yani nothing was crossed out. They were certifying that the ink was always there. Gemara says, "Benedim nashtanami amre bedina atiyuta dehudatim." Maybe Bedin was so you're saying, oh, you only ink the bottom half though between the witnesses and the Bedin's certification. But maybe people are going to say that Bedin signed that certification to certify the inking in that spot, the blot. Where it says Bedin Atid lo Hatimi. No, Bedin doesn't certify that. It's a witness's job. Where it says Velema Velechush rather. Maybe the guy who has the document will cut off the whole top part of the document. He'll erase the ink mark. He'll write whatever he wants. He'll put witnesses to sign false or forge witnesses. And Rav says, a document that has that has witnesses and a document written on an erased portion. That's kasher. So what's stopping this guy from forging this whole situation? Where it says, Hani Rav Kana, that only makes sense. He holds like Shmuel. Shmuel held, sorry, Shapir. He held like Shmuel, and therefore it would make sense according to him because Rav himself say that it will be pasul if you're nothing to worry about because you erased. Rav he holds like Rav. What did he hold that if it's written on a document that was already erased, he would say it's okay. But over here, how would it work if the guy could forge it? The Gemara says, Kasavar Rav holds, Kol ki gavna. This document that would have the text and signatures written on erased paper, and they won't certify from the certification of Betin. They would suspect something, and therefore they only certify from the witnesses, and the witnesses will be able to testify that they sound on, or they will prove that they're fake witnesses. Rabbi Yochanan says a whole different situation. He says, Lo shanu ela ben adin l'ktav. Two-line space is blank, is pasul, only between the witnesses and the text. Witnesses and the betin certification. You can't even have a single line. So Tamar says 1 second. Why can't you have that one line in between the witnesses and certification? Is because why? Maybe the guy will cut off the top, write whatever he wants with the signatures there, and then he'll be able to forge it. It says you can just certify it to the witnesses. Yeah, if that's the case. So what's stopping him from doing it with why only worry about the certification space? You should worry about the space between the edim and the text above. He'll cut it off. Whatever he wants, and the witness is already signed. So why is the two-line space? Why only two lines between the witnesses and the text above is pasul, but one line between the witnesses and the certification of Adin is pasul. Where says a document that comes with the text on one line and the signatures on the next line is pasul. Right? So therefore, that one line between the signatures of the idim and the certification can be used to write something else, and he could put a witness in that line as well, and that's why it's more of a higher chance of forgery. Okay, 1 second. Maybe the guy will write a document with signatures on one line between the witnesses and the text above. And now there's only one line, or now there's zero lines. He'll say, "Oh yeah, I added a third witness with whatever." So he wrote like, and he owes me $100. Another witness signed. He's like, "Oh, why do I have three witnesses on this? Because I wanted to add witnesses." But he's forging that last line. The Gemara says, "Kasavar kol ki gavna imra kamina to minadim smata eliminating from mata." No, we thought of that already. And if you have additional witnesses in the bottom, we don't certify the bedin with the document with that. We only certify with the above witnesses and whatever's written beforehand. Good. Gufa, we said earlier, Amarav, Shtahabab hu ve'edav al share, a document that comes with to bedin with witnesses on and the paper was already erased on it. It's kasher. The Gemara says, "Vim tomar mohek v'chazer mechak." Maybe the guy will. It should be pasul. Why? Because the guy can erase it, rewrite it, erase it again, and after he erases the second time, he can just erase everything that was previously on whatever he had with the witnesses, and he can have now technically have witnesses with whatever he rewrote it. The Gemara says, no, the reason why is because if you have witnesses written on a paper that was erased once, it looks different than the part that was erased twice, and therefore it won't be kasher. The Gemara says, maybe he'll pour ink on this part where the witnesses first sign, where the witnesses will sign later on. Then he'll erase that ink. And then he'll write an entire paper and erase it again. When he erases the entire thing again and writes whatever he wants, the whole thing will be erased twice, and it looks natural. The witnesses won't sign an erased document unless it was erased in front of them so they can certify. The Gemara says a question: a document that's written on new paper and the witnesses are signing and testifying on the race paper, it's kasher. That's the case. How can I do that? How can we be kasher? Maybe the guy will erase it and write whatever he wants, and he has a deem signing on a erased document already. Where it says the katve hachi, no, that only is kasher in that case is where they wrote the following. We're signing on the erased paper, and the document is written on new paper. So they're basically certifying the exact type of paper that was used. They're documenting it. So the kasvecha, where are you writing that? Ilim they're writing on the bottom of the part of the document. He could just cut it off. If it's on the top of the document, he could cut it off as well. So how are you writing this safely? Gemara says you write it between the witnesses, and therefore he can't cut it off. But the next part of the Batra says, if the text is written on the erased part and the witness is on the new part, it's pasul. And my pasul, why pasul? They could just testify and certify that the witness is on the new part and the text is on the old part. Don't tell me that maybe you're worried that the guy will erase it again, but we already know that a document that's erased twice looks different than erased once. The only time that it says that you can tell between one time erased and two time erased is when the witnesses are signing the erased part and the erased part is next to the other part. But if the witnesses are not signing the erased part, but on the new part, you can't tell the difference because the new part is being covered by the signatures. The Gemara says, okay, bring a new paper, and then erase it once. But then compare one document to the next, or see if it's erased twice or not. Each document can erase differently. So yes, one's erased once, the other one's erased once. It still may not look the same comparison side by side. Okay, let them accept the testimony through the signatures of the edim in one court. But then erase the signatures and write something else on that erased part. Then compare the two part of the betin of the scroll. Now you'll have it equally similarly. The Gemara says, still can't do that because if the guy had erased it previously, now you're going to erase the witness's testimony today after you certify it just to compare the whole document. If the guy had erased it previously, it will look different than now, right? Previously erased affects the document than what you'll erase now. The Gemara says, okay, so do this process. Erase this one today. If the guy erased it before, no problem. Wait a week. Now it's both a long time since passed, and now maybe it'll look similar. The Gemara says, we still do that because maybe a betin might make a mistake and not do that. It would work if you wait a month, for example, let this thing dry out and age after you erase it, then you could compare the two documents, see if it was erased more than once. But we don't want to do it because maybe Beit Din will make a mistake and they won't age the document correctly, and therefore we don't want to do that. We just say it's pasul, make a new document.